You know, most of us are blessed. We have homes, we have cars, family, friends, or a workplace to go to on a day like today. But what about the homeless in our community? And staying outside, even just for 5 minutes. 5 minutes in a 50 below wind chill can cause frostbite. Staying outside isn't safe. Richard Bahr is the author of the book, Those People, The True Character of the Homeless, and is the president of Threshold to New Life, a nonprofit helping people living in the margins. Richard's here this morning. Hi, Richard.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, how you doing?
I'm warmer now. Boy, it is cold out there, isn't it? It's terrible.
Yeah, coldest day in 23 years. And so, you know, when you're walking here downtown, you see people on the streets. How do people survive out there in this cold?
In terms of the homeless, I mean, fortunately, we have a very generous community here as it relates to the homeless. So there's a number of warming centers, there's shelters, things like that have extended their hours to be able to make room, make space for people that don't have another place to go.
What's the best thing that people can do right now to help the homeless in their community?
Yeah, great question. So if you have a heart to volunteer, a heart to serve, really all you have to do is Google, like for Minneapolis or St. Paul as their major cities, you can just Google volunteer homeless opportunities and you can find all sorts of places to connect. I know every shelter in the Twin Cities really is very hungry to have people volunteer, everything from serve food to maybe work security in the evenings. There's a lot of opportunities in the Twin Cities.
You know, I know people ask me, though, at times, what can people do to help panhandlers, you know, that they come across? And maybe people don't want to give money, but what other things can people do to help?
Yeah, very good question. So in the book, we actually have an appendix in there about how to deal with panhandlers and some suggestions. And so that is the big question is it okay to give cash? And I think it's a very personal decision whether you're okay with that, because we feel like we're culpable or accountable for what we're giving. And if you're not okay with that, there's lots of positive alternatives. And I usually turn it around when somebody asks me about that question. Mm-hmm. And I kind of say, well, you know, if it's on your heart to do something, then it's no longer an option to not do anything, and to try to have some sort of a plan. And there's all kinds of alternatives. You can do fast food gift cards. You can do small food items, personal care items. I give away a lot of socks. I've given away about 25,000 pairs of socks. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of options if you're not comfortable giving cash.
We had talked about the local shelters. What goes on there? What's that environment like?
Yeah, it varies a bit. Some of the larger shelters, it's kind of in terms of the emergency shelter, it's kind of a barrack-style communal living arrangement where you'll have something more than 100 people in a single room in bunk beds. It's not really a great life. It's very basic in terms of providing shelter. Some of them provide some meals. Some of them have been losing funding, so they haven't been able to do that. So one of the ministries that we operate is called 2.4 Ministries, which is an extension of Grace Fellowship. So we provide a warm breakfast 365 out of the Salvation Army Harbor Light facility.
And in the local shelters, no drugs, no alcohol, right?
Yes, it's not permitted.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
You know, we talk about serving. I look at it like at Christmas. When you're a kid, you love getting the gifts, right? Mm-hmm. And then as you get older, you kind of evolve and mature, and it's more fun to give the gifts. But there's something rewarding that comes through serving.
Yeah, indeed. As a matter of fact, I like to tell people that, 10 years ago, God ruined my plans, but improved my life. And so I think through that, really sacrificially serving, and it's great to show up at Christmas time and, serve at a shelter. I see a lot of families do that. But to really serve sacrificially, where you're showing up on a regular basis, to be integrated in part of something, really begins to change your identity. Rather than just identifying yourself as, what I do for work, you really begin to think of yourself differently in terms of who you are.
How did you phrase that God ruined your life? But what do you mean by that?
Well, I had other plans for myself in terms of what I was going to be doing with the rest of my life. I'm now retired. I had a business. I sold it, and I've really moved into doing this work full time now. Yeah.
What was the phrase, though, that you used?
God ruined my plans and improved my life.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's outlook, though, isn't it? And perspective, too, and finding out what's truly important in life.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. So more on the book here. I put it over here. More on the book. It's called Those People, The True Character of the Homeless. So what's all in the book, and what are you describing here?
Yeah, so it's chronicles. There's about 23 or 24 stories about real people that have lived here in the Twin Cities that have been either homeless or are currently homeless right now, that have remarkable characters. And that's the thing that struck me as I've been serving in the homeless community, is that there are people that have just radical, wild generosity, that exhibit great love, that have remarkable patience. They're way better people than me. And I think I would probably not serve. I'd be very good in that community. I mean, I struggle with patience. I struggle with loving other people that are different than me. I struggle with being judgmental, all sorts of things. But some of these people just have it in spades, and it was first surprising to me. But there were more people than I imagined that there would be, and so that's where the book came from.
We're talking with Richard Bahr. He's written that book, Those People, the True Character of the Homeless, and is also the president of Threshold to New Life, a nonprofit helping people living in the margins. Well, in the book, do you yourself go homeless for an amount of time and hang out? I shouldn't say hang out, but like experience that lifestyle?
I haven't done that yet, and I'm probably too well known to do that in the Twin Cities at this point. If I was going to do that, I'd probably have to go somewhere else.
What's the biggest thing, and you had mentioned a couple of things, but what's the main thing that you found out while doing this book and then even seeing kind of your purpose grow here over the last couple of years?
Well, I think people ask what's in common with the homeless, and I would say there's a sense of brokenness. So we think about relationships that we have with people, and as we struggle through life, and everybody encounters struggles and challenges in life, whether it be mental health or you experience a huge loss or economic. And when other people have our back, when we've got connections and relationships to family or close friends, other people will help support us. And so when those connections become broken and we encounter some sort of a struggle, that's where things can really spiral out of control for somebody.
And you think about when you get in that circle, and whatever that circle is, but it's hard to break out of it for a number of different reasons. There's obstacles everywhere.
Yeah, there are, and it's sad to say, but just in terms of people of color, the Native American community, African American people, they're way overrepresented in our shelter system. So there's still, as a society, there's still brokenness as it relates to racism. If
there's one thing that you want people to take from this conversation, this day where it's really cold and they see people, potentially homeless people that are out on the streets, if there's one thing that you want people to take from this, what would that be?
I would say step up, get engaged. And as a matter of fact, if I can plug my website for the book.
Sure.
So the website is thosepeoplebook.org. And on the bottom of the page, there's a link on there. It says to email the author. And if you want to serve breakfast with me one morning, just email me and I'll get you hooked up.
That's great. Serving others. Right, Richard? Mm-hmm. Richard Bahr, author of that book, Those People, the True Character of the Homeless. And the site again is?
www.thosepeoplebook.org.
He's also the president of the Threshold to New Life, a nonprofit helping people living in the margins. Richard, thanks for coming in this morning.
Thanks for having me.
It's real out there, though. There are homeless people that are struggling here today, and they're going to be struggling this week, too, because of this cold weather. Coldest day since 1996, February 2nd, 1996. But we can help others. We can serve others, even in this time. I want to thank Richard for coming in.